Hello, and welcome to another episode of PeppTalks with Jeanne. I'm your host, Jeanne Pepper. I started doing PeppTalks as a way to inspire you to do intentional acts of kindness and to further the goals of Blaze It Forward. Over the past 6 years, PeppTalks has evolved, and now I use it for interviewing key people in our community who volunteer at the next level. Some start foundations to further their philanthropic goals, and some work for the most influential and needed nonprofits, or they dedicate their lives to causes in their local or even global communities to make this world a better place. Today, I'm happy to have my husband, Gideon Bernstein, here with us to talk about what inspires him to do philanthropy and what he's doing. Gideon, take it away.
Thanks, Jeanne. Where do we start?
Well, what started your philanthropic interest? When did this become something that you wanted to do? I mean, you inspired me to begin philanthropy as an adult, because my family didn't really participate in, really noticeable, large-scale philanthropy like you do. So how did this start, and how can we get children to start doing philanthropy as young people?
That's a great prompt, and I think that we all have our philanthropic origin story. Every one of us. Even if you think that your family wasn't giving, there were things that they did do that were kind for other people when you were growing up. And there's something that you can pinpoint that's either through something you volunteered in through Girl Scouts or Brownies or whatever it might be, that might be the first time that you had that experience. And from what I recall from my childhood, was actually seeing my dad volunteering for a men's club. Not only were they doing things to help the community out, but I also saw that he was really happy from doing that because of all the camaraderie and relationships that he was able to develop with like-minded people. So if I fast forward that to today, what I find is the same thing for myself. Being involved in organizations with different nonprofits and doing things also from a grassroots basis of helping people out on an individual basis on the street or at different events is something that really has been very rewarding for me.
And some of the things that you did as a child, you mentioned, well, for me, I was a Brownie, and so I suppose that is a form of community service in some ways. We do community service in organizations like the Boy Scouts and Brownies. So that was really like your first introduction, probably, to doing community service.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I remember that there was a fundraiser when I was in Cub Scouts back in the day at Mar Vista Park at the community center, and there was a fundraiser that they did auctioning off different types of baked goods that were helpful for some charities that the Cub Scouts were trying to give to. So, in fact, the one baked good I remember is this cake that everybody wanted to bid on. It probably went for $5 back in 1976, and it was a Harvey Wallbanger, which apparently is now what I understand to be an alcoholic drink also.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
So after that, I know that because, obviously I met you when we were young, you were very involved in youth groups also. And I know that youth groups, whether they're through religious institutions or academic, they also provide opportunities sometimes for community service. Did you also do community service when you were in high school?
Yeah, in high school, there's an organization that I was really involved in called United Synagogue Youth, USY. And a big focus for all of the teens was this concept in the Jewish world that's called Tikkun Olam, making the world a better place or repairing the world. And so a lot of the events that we did were around helping other people and raising money to help out our community.
Fantastic. Now, when we were in college, I know that we occasionally would participate in community service. I know I did a beach cleanup, but I'm pretty sure you were with me on that. And there were various things that we did that were just things that were offered to college students that you had the opportunity to do. So this was something that we did, that we enjoyed doing when we were young. But really, after we had our kids, it was really hard to do community service because we were doing a service for kids pretty much every day. It was a nonprofit at home with those children. But as they got older, we had more ability, more disposable time that we could use for that. And I remember one of the first things that you did was to get involved, I believe, in was it in our synagogue? Were you on the board at the synagogue?
Yeah, I was on the board at the synagogue.
Yeah.
But around that same time, even when our kids were young, we were doing things.
That's true.
You started a mom's club.
I did.
All volunteer.
I did.
And you got over 200 moms together at events raising money for helping to really develop a community of moms and children.
Yes.
That were all around the same age. So that was huge. It's probably the biggest moms club in Orange County at the time.
Jewish moms organization.
Probably the biggest
ever.
Moms club in Orange County at the time.
Yeah.
And then around the same time, I was volunteering for the Cub Scouts.
Yeah. So we
were doing things for our kids, but also for the community that we volunteered for.
This is true. I mean, and you were very supportive. I could not have done it without you, because even when I started that mom's club, which was when my daughter was an infant, I was nursing her when we started that. And you were very supportive. You helped me with the children so that I could go out at night and meet with people on the board of our synagogue, because we ran it out of our synagogue. They were very kind and allowed us to do that.
Yeah.
So really philanthropy when you have young children it can be or need to be a group effort by the family, so that at least one of you can do something. But at the same time, you were on the board, I think, not long after that.
Yeah. And, most people don't recognize the work that they're doing when they have young children. They are volunteering and doing a lot of great things for their kids' sports, refereeing for soccer games, a ton of different opportunities that we all have. Even if we say we don't have enough time, we actually are doing it already. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, really, I think everybody who does any work at their children's school or participates in, we had a Cub pack that met in our house, I think at least once a month, if not more. And that went on for years with 2 boys, and we had a lot of fun with that.
It was a lot of fun.
So, community service is fun when you are doing things with your children or your family. It can be really enjoyable, and it's a great thing to do with kids, just in general, for them to see that, there's a bigger world out there than just your family unit, and that when you're involved, it's fun and you help people. You learn a lot too. I know we learned a lot. I learned how to shoot a bow and arrow and
throw an axe.
Oh yeah, we learned all
kinds of fun
We
stuff.
learned so many. I learned how to make interesting snacks, and we had fun. I wish we had all day, but I know that you have some other community service events that you're participating in today. So I'm going to try to wrap this up pretty quickly. Before we go, do you have any words of advice for people that are interested in doing more community service, that have young families, and want to get involved? Are there any other things you'd advise them to do?
The key thing that I would advise is, if you want to do something in the community, pick out something that you are going to enjoy, that is with people that are like-minded, so that you can turn it more from just an act of kindness to a lifestyle, where you're actually going to be able to do things that are good, and also find ways to find a lot more happiness from doing it as well.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that, because, community service at the end of the day is really where it's at, because when you are serving other people, you get a sense of happiness and joy that, at least for me, like even just doing these podcasts and knowing that I have an opportunity to educate people about what their opportunities are, it just makes me happy.
Yeah.
So get out there and do some community service, because that's where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah. I like to use the reference of a quote from the Dalai Lama, because everybody thinks that they are just too small to make a difference, that their dollar or their time is just not enough to have an impact on this world. And the Dalai Lama said, if you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping in the room with a hungry mosquito. And
I'll tell you, I've tried that, and they can do a lot of damage in a small amount of time. So
exactly.
That's great advice. I know that after you served on the board at the synagogue, you went on to do some really fantastic things, much bigger things for our community here. And I know that in communities around the country that they have community banks. Can you explain to our audience what a community bank is and how you became involved in the Jewish Community Bank here in Orange County?
Yeah, so the community bank is also a fluid name for a community foundation. I would probably use that term.
Yes.
And it's confusing to most people because when they see the word community foundation, they don't understand really what the function is of it. It is the service of being a community philanthropic bank. And there are many denominations that have community foundations, and there's very large entities that have essentially community foundations, including organizations like Charles Schwab and other large investment firms. Mm-hmm. What's the purpose of a community foundation? It's an opportunity for individuals and corporations to put dollars and highly appreciated assets into a philanthropic fund to, number one, get a big tax break up front, and number two, use all that money they put into those funds for philanthropy, for nonprofits around the U.S. So this is a beautiful vehicle for most Americans to get involved with. There's community foundations all over the country that you can pick out to be able to bank your dollars with, to create a philanthropic opportunity, and to get tax deductions from.
Yes, but this isn't for everybody. This is for people that maybe have appreciated stock that if they sell it, they're going to take a tremendous capital gain.
It isn't, the community foundation funds, like the philanthropic funds or the donor advised funds, are not for everybody. Yeah. But less than 20% of Americans even know what a donor advised fund is, even though over 80% of Americans are givers and give donations. So there's a wide group of individuals, families, companies that need to be educated on why the donor advised fund is so amazing for their charitable giving.
Yeah, I'm often surprised that even some of the people that we know in our community who are philanthropists, they don't really understand how it works. So it isn't something that is well understood, even among people that are very sophisticated, who we know. But at the same time, this is an opportunity for us to educate people on that as well. So if you don't have a donor advised fund, I know of at least 2 of these community type banks in Orange County, and there's probably one in your community too. You have to investigate it. They, as Gideon pointed out, are usually called foundations. They're community foundations, and we have 2 that I'm aware of. He may know of more. But you are the chairman of, and can you tell them a little bit about the one that you are the chairman of?
I chair the Jewish Community Foundation Board.
Okay, and what is the name of that officially?
It's the Jewish Community Foundation of Orange County.
Okay, super. And if people want to find out about that, who do they contact and how do they connect?
They can go to www.jcfoc.org, and they can inquire about how to set up a donor advised fund. And they can give their money away from that donor advised fund to any entity. It doesn't have to be Jewish. Any community foundation fund can be generally gifted to any 501c3 around the country. And even the Jewish Community Foundation of Orange County has a lot of donors who give to secular philanthropies all year long.
And you don't have to be Jewish to use the Jewish Community Foundation of Orange County's banking philanthropic banking opportunities. You can use they're independent fiduciaries. They don't care what your religious affiliation is, your ethnic affiliation. This is something that is supposed to help the entire community, not just Jewish people, as Gideon explained. Secular things also. People use these philanthropic funds, these accounts, to fund all of their philanthropy. I mean, if you wanted to give to a charity like Goodwill or
Red Cross, Goodwill of Orange County, anything that you want, and there's a lot of gifts that go out
absolutely.
that are from the funds that are gifted every year to those organizations.
And a shout out to our friend Shelley Haas at the Orange County Community Foundation, which is a secular also.
Yeah, and Orange County Community Foundation is the largest community foundation in Orange County. Mm-hmm. And I think that they just hit the $1 billion giveaway mark for the Orange County Community Foundation,
which is,
since their inception.
Yes, and this says a lot about Orange County. This says a lot about the tremendous amount of, wealth here probably, but also there is a spirit of giving here that makes this such a beautiful place to live. And so, so that's Shelley Haas, if anybody's looking to inquire into that foundation as well. And she's at the Orange County Community Foundation. We're going to put a little phone number and www up for her right here. Another thing that we've done that's been really fun has been the Benjamin Breakfast Club. And you introduced me to this concept, and I really enjoyed it. And some of our friends have started doing it as well independently. And this is something that anybody can do. It doesn't cost a lot of money, and it's a lot of fun. And it really helps people out and makes people really, really happy. So can you tell us a little bit about what you've done with that and how this developed?
Yeah, what is the Benjamin Breakfast Club? Several years ago, there was a post on social media that somebody forwarded to me of a video of a group of friends that went to a diner and left an extra large tip for the server at the end of their meal. It was all recorded on video and it was all real. So the reaction from the server was really heartfelt, because this group that they coined the name Benjamin Breakfast Club would take each person who went to the breakfast and ask them to give a $100 bill, a Benjamin, for the tip that would go to the server. So if there's 8 people, the server, even if it might be a $50 meal, the server gets an $800 tip at the end. So one of our friends came to us and said, hey, what do you think of this idea? I'm like, this is brilliant. Why don't we go do this around the holidays and take some friends and start doing the Benjamin Breakfast Club? So we went to one of the diners over here in Orange County in Costa Mesa, and we didn't pick the server out. We just had 8 friends that joined us for basically eggs and toast for breakfast and coffee. And we had great conversation with the server. At the end of the meal, the server's telling us a little bit about his background, that he's been working at this diner. Now picture this. This is a diner that's got all these red leatherette seats and, it's really old school. This server had been working there for 30 years. And he was telling us about his kids and his life working at Norm's. So by the end of the meal, when we got the bill, we all took the dollars and we put them inside the $100 bills, and we put them inside the envelope. We handed it to him, and we were just waiting to see what happened because we didn't know what the reaction would be. And he walked away and looked inside the envelope, didn't come back right away. We just sat there just wondering what was going on. And finally he came back, and he was in tears. And he told us how he was going to take the money from that tip, which was a lot of money for him as far as a tip goes for anybody, and that he was going to give it away to a child of a friend of theirs that was having cancer treatment in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
So what we thought we were doing was helping somebody for the holidays, and they basically took that and they were basically paying it forward and regifting it again to somebody else that was in need. So that was the first time that we did Benjamin Breakfast Club, and it's caught fire since then. We've done it several other times around the holidays, during the middle of the year. You can do it whenever you want and still have the same effect and impact.
Yeah, so this is a very enjoyable thing that you can do. You could even do it with your kids. And, even if you just give a $100 tip with your family, that
could be the Jackson Breakfast Club.
It could be anything. Right. It could,
the Washington Breakfast Club.
Yeah, whatever you want it to be. But you can go and, when somebody gets a tremendous tip, especially, I think, maybe at the holidays, that makes people feel like, wow, people care. People care about more than just themselves. So it's kind of that reach out. It's kind of vibe higher, people. Do things that increase the happiness and the feeling of well-being in this world, and you will see results, because that's really what we have to do.
Yeah, I mean, you've called it before the butterfly effect, or leveraging your philanthropy, or leveraging your good deeds.
It's a ripple effect, because when we do these things, even small things, they bring something into this world, an energy, a good, positive energy that changes people. It changes the general milieu of the world. And that's something that we desperately need right now in this world, is just positive energy, good energy, and focus away from things that are negative and difficult and complex that we have no control over. But you have control over being positive in your world. You have control over doing good in this world. Only you can do that. So do it, and let's make this world better. Well, I want to thank Gideon Bernstein for joining me today here on Pep Talks. It was really fun. I didn't know how much fun it could be to interview somebody that I know everything about.
So fun.
But yes, it was a lot of fun, and I'm glad that we had you, and we're going to do it more.
This is amazing. I'm so proud of you for putting Pep Talks together and doing this. Really great.
Thank you for supporting me in my philanthropy. I really appreciate all that you've done.
Yeah. I'll take a moment just to talk about my book. I did write a book that was inspired a lot through Blaze It Forward, and I wrote it during the pandemic, and it's called Giving, the Handbook to Happiness for the Modern Philanthropist. And it's on Amazon, and I've used it as a platform for being able to do inspirational speaking and motivational speaking, trying to help to make this world a better place. And in some ways, it's better therapy for me than it is anybody in the audience, but it's something that makes me feel like I've been able to make another imprint on this world in a positive way. So thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Well, that's been another episode of Pep Talks with Jeanne. Once again, I would like to thank Gideon Bernstein for joining us today. Blaze It Forward is a campaign my family started to repair the world with kindness in honor of our son Blaze, who was murdered in 2018. You can learn more about Blaze and how you can make a difference on our website, www.blazebernstein.org, or on our Facebook group, #BlazeItForward. Special thank yous to all the volunteers who have helped me with my philanthropic endeavors. Today, that is a thank you to my producer, Eli Moskowitz, who wore many hats today and will be doing post-production also. And thank you again for all of you who joined me today. I'm Jeanne Pepper, and this has been another edition of Pep Talks with Jeanne.